Passek, the FlyFish Fanatic, and welcome to my tying bench. Today we'll be tying a little Mayfly dry pattern. Kind of. It just this pattern actually sits right in the surface film, or just below. At least that's how I found the best success with this pattern. It uses a lot of floating materials in it to help keep it up. So today we'll be starting with, I'll switch over to the other camera. Hopefully the sound is better. I've been playing around with the sound. I know the sound in my last videos have been horrid. So hopefully it's better this time. We'll find out. So right now in the vise, I have a Hook-Hends BL550. It's a clink hammer, pupa, nymph, barbless in a size 12. For the tail, I'm going to be using some Coq de Lion fibers from Whiting. So, for the body, I'm going to be using some Semperfli Kapok Dubbing. This stuff floats forever and a day. For the rib, I got one little strand, and it's going to be hard to see, but just a tiny little strand of green flash. That's going to be for the rib. Then I'll be using a little bit of CDC in an olive for the underwing, if you want to call it that. And then for the front wing, I'll be using some badger, just some hand-dyed badger. Oh, and for the little dubbing ball right behind to help flare this and the CDC out, I've got my own little blend of. It's a little bit of Semperfli Sparkle dubbing and hare's ear. So, alrighty. So we'll start off by waxing our thread. Sorry if there's a little bit of noise in the background. It is smoking hot here and the air conditioner is running, so hopefully it's not too bad. We'll find out. So just start my thread at the front. Just gonna go back, touching wraps all the way to the back. I don't want to go too far to the back. I do have a tendency, for some reason, with this one, I have a tendency of going like almost all the way down, and then the tail doesn't sit as nice as I'd like it to sit. So stop right there. Okay. So then I'm just going to take my Coq de Lion feathers, and I'm just going to spread this up so the tips line up, just like that. And I'm just going to tear that off the feather, right? So I just want these tips to line up. Now I've only got about 5 or 6. I mean, if you really want to get picky, you only put on 3. But I like having a few extras just in case they get bit off. So I'm going to come up to about there. That's going to be my tie-in point for my dubbing ball and my CDC and stuff. So there. That's not quite long enough. I like a fairly long tail on these, maybe a little longer. There we go. And again, I'm just going to touching wraps back to about where the hook barb would be, give or take. Not too far. Like I said, I don't want to go too far around the corner, because then the tail ends up sitting way down like that, which is not a horrible thing, but it looks a little more natural when it's sitting up. So I just put a wrap underneath the tail fibers, another wrap underneath the tail fibers. That just kind of helps it hold it up. So up here in the front, I'm just going to nip off this material, this excess I don't need. Use my fingers, they're always in the way, I know. Nip that off. Okay, I'm just going to go back forward just to keep the body symmetrical. Back forward, and I'm going to take my little piece of green flashaboo wherever I put it. Oh, don't tell me I lost it. And that's going to, oh, there it is. It fell on the seat. Lucky. Because that would have been not fun to find. Just tie that in my side here. Oops. It slipped over. So I think I'm going to take this other end a little straighter. Just tie that in. Come on. Keep missing it. There we go. I don't know why I keep missing the darn thing. I'm having a tough time seeing with this light, but there we go. Just get her onto my side, not a big deal. Not going to see it anyway, it's going to be all covered with dubbing. So just right to my tie-in point with my tail, put that out of the way. And then I am going to take some of my Kapok Dubbing, and I'm going to use, in this one, I usually use either the March Brown or the light brown. See those? Light brown or the March Brown. Sometimes I'll use the tan as well. Today I'm going to use the light brown. So I'm going to take some of this out, and you can see this. So for those of you out there that don't know what Kapok Dubbing is actually what used to be inside of life jackets. So as you can see, it floats forever then, right? This stuff is amazing. It dubs on really well. I don't even really need to wax it. It's just, that's a habit. So, so I'm going to take a little bit at a time and just wax this, just dub that on. Just a little bit at a time. Because I don't want too big of a body on this, right? So I'm going to start nice and tight there. Just gonna start right back where my tie-in point is, and then I'll just move forward. Don't want a huge body on this. These mayflies are not big, right? So you don't want a big body. Now I do want to taper up a little bit thicker as I go, so I'm just going to put on a little bit more of this Kapok Dubbing. Like I said, this stuff dubs like crazy, and it floats forever. And it comes in a fairly wide range of colors. And you can pull it out too if you want. Just a tad more, not much. Not much, just a tad. Just gonna spread that out a little bit here, because I don't want much more on there, but I do want to come back and just cover this little bare spot and make a little bit of a thicker as it comes up here. Okay, that's it. Then I'm going to counter wrap my green flash. I like using this green flash or a red flash in here, but I like using these, just one strand of Flashabou. I don't want much. I just want a little bit of a, hey, what's that? You know, attractant. So, but I don't want much, because otherwise it doesn't look very natural, right? So, so now I'm going to take just a tad of my, all I wanted to create is a bit of a dubbing ball here. Now I could do it with the Kapok, but having this, the little bit of extra sparkle in it again, and having some of that hare's ear that kind of pokes out, is really nice for this pattern. So I'm just going to create a bit of a ball in front of it, a little bit more. It's not quite enough for me. I like having a bit of a ball there just to help flare everything out. Let's go right back over top. Right back over top. There you go. And it's just stroke all that material back. Just make sure it stays in a nice little ball like that there. Okay. Now you can, if you want, just take a cup, you know, a little stroke or two, just to get, to pull some of that. That hook actually just caught on my thumb. That didn't feel very good. Again, there we go. Okay, so now that that's in, I'm just going to reposition my hook just a little bit. I like having it more on a flat or an up facing at this point. So now what I've done is I've taken one CDC feather and I've put it in my material clip. Oh, sorry. Okay. And I'm going to just cut that center feather off, that center stem, sorry. Where did I put my long scissor? There we go. These long scissors from Renome, they're really, really long. They're awesome. One snip and it's done. But you got to obviously be careful, because you want to leave your material on there. You're just cutting that center stem out, right? So there's my cut. So now I'm going to take my thread, and I'm going to counterclockwise spin it to flatten it back out. I'm just going to go in and, not quite enough, a little bit more. There we go. You're blind in one eye, and I am. It's hard to split thread. But there we go. So, in she goes. I'm going to bring it up as high as I can. Going to let it go. Get it caught in there. And I'm just going to give it a little bit of an initial spin. Just a little bit. And then I'm going to let that spin go. And let's just to get that caught in there. I want to get that caught before I start really going aggressive, because sometimes if you go too aggressive right off the bat, it'll fling all your material out of there. So now that it's in there, it's going to give it a decent spin. And I want this material to flare out. So, okay, so I'm going to go up, and I'm just, every time I go around, once I get to actually hit the material, I'm going to stroke this back. I want all this material to lay back. And pretty well, I'm going in one wrap in front of the other, but almost on top of the last wrap. Now, if you don't have to make it quite this bushy if you don't want to. Some people like them bushier, some people like them a little sparser. I tie them both ways. I don't know if I've actually noticed a lot of difference, but so I will go and preen this a bit. I'll pull some of these ends off because I don't want too much length, right? I'm just, because like I said, this is more of an underwing, right? So I'm just preening the length here a bit. But that is about it. Actually, I'm gonna move my camera up for you guys just a bit so you guys can actually see that. Hold on, hopefully it doesn't get too jittery. There we go. So like I said, I just preen that back. Now you can lick your fingers a bit just to help keep that back out of your way for the next step. So now next, I'm going to take a hackle fiber. I had one prepared. It's right there. So it's just prepared it with a tie-in point. Shiny side is going to be facing me. Just catch that in by the tip. Couple of wraps. Make sure that stem is really caught well in there. Now I did catch it by the tips here, so there is a chance I will, because these are the real fine feathers from down below here, right? So there's a chance that it'll rip, but man, you can always put another one on. So I'm just going to preen all this material back, stroke it all back, wrap it, stroke it all back, wrap it. There's one right in front of the other. But make sure you stroke all that material back. You want all these barbules facing back. All right. So last wrap, probably. Yeah, that's the last one. So nice and tight. 3-4 wraps on top. Stroke that stem back. 3-4 wraps on in front. Now you can either rip this off or cut it off. Up to you. Again, stroke all that back just so it stays back. Build a little bit of a head here. Not a huge head. Okay, and then I'm going to take some of my Sally Hansen's. I'm going to put it right on my thread, and then I'll whip finish. Reason I like doing that, especially with dry flies and CDC and stuff like that, is just so it doesn't get caught on the feather if you can help it, right? Give that a nice tug, get in there, cut off your thread. Sure this is all stroked back nicely. You can even take your little dubbing brush if you have one and just stroke all that material just so it stays nicely back. And that is your finished fly. Like I said, I like fishing these on a floating line, just in the surface film, and a really slow retrieve. The odd little twitch to it, just to impart some movement, but a very slow figure eight. And these have worked really well for me in the lakes and in the rivers. So in the rivers, you just want to dead drift this one. In the lakes, like I said, just a very slow retrieve. Very slow. So, alrighty. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that one. If you did, give her a thumbs up for me. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so and smash that notification bell. If you have subscribed, thank you very much. And we'll see you guys on the next tying video. Tie lines, everyone.